Taking a risk. It sounds scary, ¿verdad? The word risk is a very negative word in the Latino community. And honestly, I have seen how the idea of risk has stopped, people in the Latino community from investing in stocks and real estate. But let me tell you, we have to learn how to overcome this fear of the idea of risk in order to build wealth. So let's talk about how we can overcome this idea of risk in order to get out there and start investing and start building financial freedom and wealth. But first, hola, hola, welcome to MoneyChisme. I am Violeta, and here we get the chisme on personal finance, real estate investing, investing in general, and entrepreneurship. And we also share the stories of other wealth builders in our community. Now, this fear of risk is a huge barrier in the Latino community when it comes to building wealth and, just out here trying to gain financial freedom. Now, don't get me wrong, like fear is, obviously sometimes good in certain situations because it can give you that caution to help you avoid big failures in life, losing money, of course. But at the end of the day, risk is required to build wealth. The key thing is that we need to learn how to take calculated risks. And we have to learn how to overcome that fear. Y la verdad, like I had to learn how to do that. I had to learn how to quiet that voice a little bit of this anxiety, of this fear that, I'm going to lose all my money. And, even to this day, I am constantly battling with that emotion and that fear. Even with my most recent deal that I am closing on, like I still had that anxiety and that fear come up like, what if something bad happens or whatever. But I had to talk to myself and, learn to trust myself as well and have that confidence that I crunched the numbers and that I did all my research, I did my due diligence. So let's talk about where this fear is coming from. Many of us grew up in families where, financial stability was needed for survival. And especially if you're first gen like me, our parents came here into a new country. They didn't know how the economics works or anything. All they knew was that they had to work to make money so they could pay the bills and provide for us. And so that's all they knew. They knew to work and make money. And with that, the mindset quickly settled into playing it safe. And because they don't know what they don't know, right? They don't know how to invest or what stocks are or how, money works in this new country. And so they played it safe of, working hard, paying your bills, making sure you don't get into debt, going to school and getting, a good job that, pays you well, maybe has, some benefits. That's a plus. But ideally, you get a good paying job and, eventually buy your first house and then settle down. And basically, save every penny that you can for retirement. On top of that, like we saw our parents or our grandparents, we saw how hard they worked and how much they sacrificed to be here and to provide for us. So we're like, you know what? I do not want to do anything that's gonna fuck that up. And so then we follow the advice that they give us of, making sure that we just get a good job and protect the little that we have, because they didn't have the privilege to take risks because, the stakes were too high. If they failed, it was, that was it. Like the whole family could be out, homeless or something. And so the little financial education that we do get from, our family is things like, just save and don't do anything that's too risky. I still hear that, to this day. My mom will say like, otra casa, like, you're gonna, that's too much risk. Like, how are you gonna pay for these houses? And like, she doesn't understand that I have cash flow for that and I'm making profit on top of the house being paid off and, other things that I do to reduce my risk. And that advice comes from a place of love and what they know and what worked for them. But that fear and that type of advice is actually starting to hold us back now that we are in today's economy. And now that we're realizing that, what, saving is not going to be enough for retirement, especially with inflation. And that job you could get laid off tomorrow. So, in reality, not taking these calculated risks to invest is actually hurting us and actually putting us more in risk of, financial ruin because we're putting our eggs all in one basket. We are putting our money into a bank account, saving it, and not taking account of inflation and putting all our faith in this job that tomorrow they can decide that, what, we don't need your position anymore. Or, what, you need to take a pay cut. Or, that promotion that you thought you would get, you're not getting it. Or when you first get out of college, you think you're going to get a high paying job, and they're like, actually, no, you're going to get an entry level position because you don't have any experience or whatever. So you're going to get, minimum wage or whatever. And then you're like, what? So let's talk about risk. Like, let's get into it and start understanding and overcoming this fear. A lot of times when people talk about risk, immediately people think it's like gambling away your money because it's kind of difficult for uh, when you are not uh, as financially literate, especially like in stocks and investing and like real estate. You can imagine how scary that is of thinking that, okay, I'm going to put my money into this stock or the stock market, and you know what, I saw the stock market crash a few years ago. Or what about the 2008 crash and things like that. So it can be scary, but there is a very clear difference in reckless risk versus calculated risk. With calculated risk, you are getting all the information possible. You're researching, you're crunching numbers, you're thinking of the what ifs and having backups and ways to get out and make sure that if it doesn't go as planned, reduce the the impact. So, for example, I invest in real estate, and rental property investing can be scary. I hear it all the time that what if I get a bad deal? What if the property that I buy actually has hidden mold, like black mold, or it has termites inside? Or what if the tenant doesn't pay, or blah, blah, blah? All these what ifs, and it can sound scary. And so a lot of people do not get into, investing in rental properties. And let me tell you, as someone that has gone through, tenants not paying to the point where I had to evict them. I had a tenant, not necessarily like trash the house, but it was not well taken care of. They're like, the kid wrote drew on the walls and all, and some maintenance issues. They left some like leaves, which ended up rotting the deck and everything like that. So all of that was definitely stressful, and from the outside looking in, that could deter somebody because you're like, see, like now you had this maintenance and all that stuff. But I had a plan for those things, and I had ways to cover that to keep me afloat, to get back on track, which I am currently getting back on track. And all the units are rented out, everyone's paying on time, and now I'm closing on another one. but it's because I analyzed my risk and I took action and set up a plan to, if something does go wrong, I am good. So I want you to start shifting your mindset of, risk being this scary thing and seeing it more as a tool and using it to your advantage. All right, so how can we break through this fear of risk? Number one is educate yourself on, whatever it is that you want to take a risk on. So let's say you want to invest in the stock market. Learn about the stock market, learn what a stock is and how it works, and figure out the different types of stocks, and even look into that stock market crash and what happened, and look at it look at it as a long-term thing, because stocks and real estate investing are a long-term game. And so you end up with, overall, because you're going to have times where the stock market is, freaking rising crazy and you're making money. And then, you might have like a recession for a few years and it might dip and everything. And then you go back up. But overall, you are still gaining versus if you had just put that into a savings account. So understanding the thing that you want to invest in, start educating yourself. There's a lot of free resources like this podcast. There's books that you don't even need to buy. You could just go to the library and rent out some of the books, check out some of those books. And there's YouTube. Just be careful with some of the people that you follow and listen to in regards, because during 2020 there was a lot of stock bros going rampant, and a lot of people fell prey to that of buying individual stocks. You always want to kind of diversify. Number two, start small. If you really do have that huge fear, just start something small. Start a little small investment account. um, one of the ones that like I like to use is, use index funds, which is just like a basket of stocks. So it's like you're not buying one individual stock, you're buying, portions of stocks, like fractions of stocks in a basket. So that way it is diversified. And if one stock goes up or goes down, you have all these other stocks to, that way you don't lose all your money. And start off small, like, $50, 100, whatever you feel that you can afford to risk. And then eventually that's going to start helping you build that confidence of taking risk. Number three is surround yourself with risk takers. Now, obviously don't don't surround yourself with the one that's just like gambling. Again, surround yourself with calculated risk takers, people that can be that support group. Like they say, your network is your net worth, because it's true. And y'all work together and bring each other up and learn from each other and motivate each other. Remember that risk is part of the process, and you don't have to do it alone, especially if you are interested in investing in rental properties. I'm going to put a quick plug in here that my rental property bootcamp is now live, is a self-paced course that's going to set that foundation, take you from beginning of finding your why, figuring out your finances, learning how to fund your properties, to learning how to find your market and find and analyze your properties to make sure that you not only reduce your risk, but also have a plan, a 5-year plan, to have a roadmap to not only buy your first rental property, but also serve as a guide for the next few years, and give you a step by step on what to do next. If you're interested, if you are ready to overcome your fear of risk and get out there and start investing in rental properties, check it out. The link is down below. Number four is reframing the idea of failure, because failure is not necessarily the end. I failed at several things with my rental properties and some of my properties that I, sold. In hindsight, I wish I wouldn't have sold like my first home. That, like, now I was like, man, that would have been a great property to continue to have. It had a low interest rate, it had a low mortgage, it was in a great area, and the rent was more than enough to cover and provide great cash flow. But because of fear at that time, I ended up just like selling it and giving up, because I dealt with a tenant that cost me about 7 grand. But the house was worth and way more than 7 grand, and I would have made that, in cash flow back easily. I don't see that as a failure. It's more of a learning experience. So now I learned from that experience, the mistakes that I did, and now I put them into the properties that I buy now. And same thing with, some of my duplexes. I did some failures there with not doing enough due diligence, not knowing what to look for in some of these things, to where then I had to replace like water heater and stuff like that. Instead of seeing it as a failure, it is a learning experience, because at the end of the day, the cash flow was enough to cover most of those costs. So it's not really a lot out of pocket that I was putting out to fix these maintenance issues. And in the long run, the cash flow is what I'm after. And lastly, understand your why. If you don't have a why, definitely take the time to figure that out, because that's going to be uh, your your guide. This is what's going to be your compass of making sure that you are taking the appropriate risk and the right type of investment. And it's going to be the thing that motivates you. And when you do have a, setback, not a failure, a setback, is going to be something to motivate you to get you back on, on the horse, I guess. And it's going to help you overcome that fear, because you're going to realize the benefit of, paying for your kids' college, of having the financial freedom to, stay at home and raise your kids, or financial freedom to travel, see the world, or just to provide, maybe retire your parents, or, just have extra cash just for funsies. Like, your why is going to motivate you. And so our Latino community has to learn how to overcome this fear and anxiety of taking risks, and learn how to take calculated risk. And in order to, not just, gain financial stability, but financial freedom, and build generational wealth that we are so far behind on. Because taking these calculated risks, like, you're creating opportunities for your family, you're breaking the cycles of struggle or financial instability. And money is power. We need, our community to start building wealth, so we could start using that to make change and build up our communities. And that's what I want to see. I want to see more of my Latino community out here investing in real estate, owning properties, starting businesses, and just investing in their future. And in order for us to start closing this racial wealth gap, but also, leaving a legacy. But we cannot do that if we continue to let fear consume us and be another barrier on top of the other barriers that we already have. So let's get out there and start taking calculated risk and start building this wealth. And let me know, what is it of risk that is holding you back? Like, what is it? Is it the knowledge? Is it just the fear of losing your money? Like, what is stopping you? All right, so that's it for this episode. Don't forget to share this and let me know your thoughts and what is holding you back. Other than that, I will see you in the next episode. Bye.